Hello and welcome back. This is the 13th installment in the Shadow Work series, where we learn how to navigate the wheel of change and evolve together one at a time so we can become our best selves for each other. In this 13th challenge, we're dealing with the shadow of discord, the chemistry of pessimism, and the fear of real internal change on the path to the grace of empathy. First, I'll start off with a short little parable, and then we'll get into the details of the shadow. At this point, please close your eyes and visualize the story I am about to share. The parable of the book that has no listener. Once upon a time, yes, once upon a time, in a small desert village, there was a young woman named Amara, who lived alone on the edge of town. She wasn't a healer or a priestess or a warrior. She was a scribe. She wrote down stories of people, pain, love, betrayal, but no one read them. No one ever asked. She kept them all in a leather-bound book that she called the Echo Record. One day, a boy wandered into her home, muddy, loud, and full of questions. He picked up the book and asked, "What is this?" Amara replied, "It's everything no one wanted to hear." He opened it and read a single story, then another, and then he asked, "Why do they all feel unfinished?" Amara said softly, "Because they were never heard. Without a listener, a story never finishes. It just echoes." The boy came back the next day and the next, and each time Amara read aloud a story. And he would listen, truly listen, and something strange began to happen. The stories began to change. The pain softened. The endings evolved. And Amara realized the stories were never meant to be facts. They were meant to be transformed, but only through presence. Over time, the villagers began to listen too, and the Echo Record became known by a new name, the Book of Becoming. Because stories don't die when they're heard, they become. Again, welcome to this channel. If you're watching, something inside you has likely heard the echo of your own unspoken story. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to understand it. This 13th pattern of change is often referred to as the listener, but that title can be misleading. In this challenge, it's all about more than listening to others. It's about listening to the hidden transmissions of our own lives. Not just external conflict, but inner emotional noise, the unprocessed pain, the disappointment, and fear we carry in our gut, heart, and mind. This is where the wound lives. The repressive side turns pain into silence, and the reactive side turns pain into rigidity and blame. Both are masks for the same fear, that if I truly listen to others, to the past, to myself, I will drown in what I hear. So why does this shadow exist? Because evolution requires filters. Our bodies evolved to guard against danger. Emotionally, that translated into guarding against truth, especially the painful kind. And so we created psychic noise, deafness, numbness, pessimism, ideology. But the spiritual ascension asks something opposite of us. It asks us to become emotionally porous, not to absorb pain, but to witness it without resistance, to alchemize it and not fix it, to allow our past to speak so our soul can listen. For those interested in doing deeper personal alchemy and wish to have a means of accelerating an understanding of shadow work, Over the last 3 to 5 years, I have collected a wealth of information from various esoteric systems, namely the I Ching, human design, gene keys, the chakra systems, and astrology, as well as integrating them with the human genetic code. And in this chart, you will find the details of all the different shadows, all the different fears, the specific fears that fuel those specific shadows, all 64, all in relationship to each codon. And in this wheel, you will find 4 legends on each corner because they can't all fit on one corner or one side to make it a nice, evenly balanced square. So here is the statements from each zodiac sign, so you can see. And then we have the legend for each chakra. You'll notice that there are more than 7, and because there are more than 7 because it is including the spleen as a means to detect threats. So there's an intuitional center there. There's also a center of willpower called the thyroid, because when we are born, the thyroid is literally almost, if not as big as our heart. So we have to accommodate that. And on the other side of this, you will also find an understanding of the I Ching, the hexagram system, the different trigrams, the relationship to the three-dimensional plane, the yin and the yang, and how each of the 6 lines are affiliated with different archetypes, thanks to the human design and or gene key system. And lastly, you will also find the human genetic sequence chart for all the amino acids associated with the human genetic code. But furthermore, you will also find in this chart all the different zodiacs, all 12, mixed with the human design gene key chart. Bear with me, my graphics card is not as fast as other people's on their computer, but you will see all the different fears, all the different shadows, and how they relate to each chakra in those colorful little dots. So you can see how it affects each energy center in the body and how each of them have their own repressive and reactive statements because there are 6 expressions in each challenge. Therefore, you will also find those 6 lines in there, all with their own repressive and reactive statements, their associated dilemmas from that specific shadow, which eventually will clear up, the gift from making the right choices regularly and practicing that gift with its own unique self-empowerment statement. So as you learn to vacate the trapped emotions such as sadness, fear, anger, shame, and guilt, and you reorient towards true self-alignment and honoring the intuition and inner authority that you possess, it will lead you towards the grace specific to that challenge. So if you would like to learn more about this and or you would like to download this file for your own personal means of translating your specific challenges in the human design system or in the gene key system, it is all there for you. All you have to go is to my website and download this PDF file. It's about 50 megabytes in size. I hope you enjoy this and hope you enjoy this brief glimpse into this massive PDF with all the details about all the specific challenges you'll have in your personal self-realization path. In order to find this PDF, a link will be found down below in the description of the YouTube video. When using that elaborate and vast chart of information, you can use the human design apps found in the App Store on Google Play so that you can choose whichever speaks to you most. And as you choose whichever human design app works best for you, you can then use that towards the chart. So you get your information and your numbers. And then after that, you can use the chart as reference For example, I use the Human Design app, which helps me see the specific numbers that I need to see in the top right-hand corner. The red are the unconscious. These are the ones that were imprinted when the soul decided to remain anchored in the body about 90 days before you were born, between the second and the third trimester. The black numbers indicate the conscious, more aware challenges that you know you have in your current life, based on your survival challenges and your adversities currently going on in your life. You can also find that same application in the Human Design App Store for iPhone and or iOS before you start using the chart that you have purchased online. Thank you very much. And if you ever need more information on this and you wanted a free consultation in understanding the current challenges in your life and how it relates to human design, feel free to reach out through the links below. You can also visit thegenekeys.com. There, you will also find a different kind of chart. It relates to the same challenges and same numerical sequences as found in the I Ching and Human Design. And there you'll be able to find a free profile link where you can then enter in your personal information in this field and then have a look at your specific gene key profiles and understand your genus sequence, your Venus sequence in opening up your heart, your love sequence, prosperity, and finding inner harmony. Thank you for watching this short introduction into the Wheel of Evolutionary Change and the chart that I've shown you in brief. And hopefully through those apps and through this PDF, you will find a way to decode the challenges you face and understand how to make the best choices for you and everyone you were meant to impact positively in your life. Now back to the shadow work and the evolutionary change in this video. This 13th challenge for change and evolutionary growth shows us that discord isn't dysfunction, it's a threshold. It's a place where our stories loop on repeat until they're reframed. Our emotions stall until they are moved through presence. Our body tightens until the gut finally digests what's being suppressed. You might ask, why did I inherit this? Why do I feel others' pain so deeply? Why can't I move past my own? Because you're not just carrying a story, you are a spiritual bridge for emotional evolution across timelines, generations, and systems. Every time we pause instead of react, every time we listen instead of judge, every time we reflect instead of dismiss, we are dissolving the discord. Not just in your life, but in the collective nervous system. That's how empathy begins to awaken, not as a feeling, but as a state of being. Please note that this also has a pairing, and that's with the seventh pattern of change and evolutionary growth. Gate 7 is positioned in Leo, and its specific shadow of division and its fear of transgression, and because the repressive nature is hidden and it has a fear of becoming a leader, and the reactive nature that it becomes dictatorial in its form of control. And it has a challenge with the dilemma of boundaries and the path to virtue. Now back to the shadow of discord. Here's the invitation from switching from fear to grace. This challenge isn't here to offer one size fits all fixes, because this 13th challenge isn't about doing, it's about becoming. And becoming starts with this truth. Discerning from the heart requires development of one's EQ, which means being able to understand what you're feeling, understanding the emotion that is surfacing up, that is presenting itself, or maybe more than one, and pausing long enough to take note and the questions they have to offer you. Not only that, likely the parts that use those emotions to get their way without listening to the guidance of the heart and the voice of the self through its signals. One signal would be warmth in your chest. The other might be a pull forward towards that decision. Another might be to sleep on it, to go from the emotional high and low, to find emotional equilibrium and regulation. And if you still feel the pull forward after that, you can proceed step by step, trusting in that discernment. As you practice that discernment more and more, what ends up happening is it leads to embodying the grace of empathy. And empathy at its highest isn't just kindness. There's a cosmic memory or remembrance, and that is to remember that we were never separate, that every voice, every wound, every shadow has meaning when it's heard fully. So if you're here because you're tired of running from your own story, or because you've carried the weight of others for too long, welcome. This is a space for sacred listening, for unraveling judgment, for learning how to alchemize the shadows, not escape them. This 13th challenge doesn't promise comfort, but it does promise truth. And through truth, a love so deep it dissolves even the oldest echoes. Down below in the description, you will find my email address in case you want to get a hold of me directly. The other is my website links. And furthermore, there are meetup groups that I host, three of them actually. Divination systems that talk more about these shadows, the challenges, the gifts, the emotions involved, how to practice those gifts, and how to embrace the graces, all 64 of them, over the course of your life, because you were always deserving to receive them after doing the work. In those meetup groups, you will find links to free resources, while we also provide support for each other through these challenges. If you're not into Zoom meetings or want to join another social platform, on my website, through my archives, you'll also gain access to the Dropbox resources that are free. Thank you for watching this video in its entirety. I hope you continue on your journey through this Shadow series. God bless you. Namaste, and good life to you all.